Should we get to go?
Okay. It's called to order the finance committee meeting for GDPUD. I guess today is
The 19th.
the 19th of November, 2025.
And I got 202, if you can just say that.
2:02. The time is 2:02. Is that some kind of, okay, still roll call.
Yeah, Chairman Gorns,
Present.
Secretary Hellick,
Present.
and Member Miller.
Present.
Are you vice chair now?
He's vice chair.
I wasn't here last time, so I didn't get the update. All right, all accounted for.
Okay, let's do the pledge of allegiance. Martha, you like to lead? Sure, man.
I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Has everybody had a chance to look at the agenda?
Mr. Chairman, I would just make a suggestion. We do have some video callers today that will be making presentations. I'd like to move informational items 5 to below action item 6, if you could do that.
Okay. So noted. Any other comments on the agenda? Okay. We want to make a motion to adopt.
I make a motion to adopt the agenda.
and I second.
Vote.
Hey, man, I have a question.
Okay,
Okay.
Sorry, I couldn't get my hand up quick enough.
okay.
It's Sheree.
Yep.
Why isn't the solar on the agenda?
The solar is being discussed as part of the rate increase discussion.
And not having the solar packet included?
We are
Presentation?
we are having a presentation to the finance committee. I will have the presentation added. It's the same presentation from the board meeting. I apologize for not getting it added before the meeting.
Okay, but it was also lacking 3 pages from the board meeting.
I will have everything posted on the website for you.
Okay, and also the Zoom call is registered as November 27th and not the 19th. Just a note.
Okay, I will have to review that. I'm not very good with the Zoom stuff, so.
Well, it says 27th, so that's
Okay,
it.
thank you. Thank you for those comments. Did we vote?
We seconded.
Okay, want to vote?
All in favor?
Favor? Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Okay, the agenda is adopted. Next item is public forum. How many people do we have on? Can you tell?
Cherie is a guest and Stephen Dowd. I'm not sure who EJ's iPhone is. They couldn't be a guest as
All
well.
right, well, let's open it up to public comment. Do we have any public comments that anybody would like to offer at the beginning of this meeting? Okay. No public comments. Let's move to the next item, which is approval of the minutes. Did you guys have an opportunity to review the minutes from last meeting? Yep.
Yes.
Any comments? Changes?
Nothing.
No? Nope. All right, let's make a motion to adopt the minutes of the meeting that was on October 23rd, 2025 of Finance Committee.
I make a motion to adopt. the minutes.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Passed unanimously, minutes are adopted. Okay. Next, we're gonna bump action items before the informational items to take in the comments on the solar and what's the other issue?
The rate increase.
Okay, well, let's do the solar first. So do we have our solar person online?
Yeah, I'll just do a quick update. We did discuss this at the board meeting last month, or excuse me, earlier this month. And the board asked the finance committee to review the solar as a result of potential rate increase and budgetary items moving forward. So we invited Jessica Ritter and her team to the meeting. We also have a person who is a potential financier here to, if you have any questions about, there is an option down the road if we need to utilize some sort of loan to finalize this project. It's not the goal of the district to do it that way. We would like to make a cash payment, but it's always an option. We like to make sure that we have all the cards on the table. So I'll turn it over to Jessica.
Is this the solar project that's going on? Oh, the lake out here,
So we're doing a Sweetwater treatment
at water treatment.
and here at the headquarters building. There are 3 different locations that we've kind of vetted and judged.
Uh-huh.
2 of them are much stronger than the third one, so the board kind of took a position to maybe exclude the third one. It will be discussed briefly, but we are looking right now at the 2 site plans, so I'll have Jessica
Okay.
pretty much focus on the 2 site plan.
Okay.
Thank you, Nick. Hi, can everybody hear me okay?
Yes.
Yeah.
Great. Okay, so thank you guys so much for inviting us to the Finance Committee meeting. I'm going to pull up the presentation that we presented at the last board meeting. I want to introduce Eric James. That's EJ's iPhone that you see there. Eric is mobile today. He is one of our project engineers, and he's worked really closely on developing this project for your district. And then we also have Michael Garcia from Oppenheimer. They are the financiers. If the district decides to move forward with the project financing, they would be the ones to help you out throughout that process. So wanted to make quick introductions. I'm going to share my screen here if it'll let me. It is not. Let me send request. If you could approve that request, then I'll go ahead and share my screen. All right, looks like I've got that. So let me pull that up here. Okay, let me move a few things over my windows here if I can. Oh boy, what just happened? Okay, well, we'll just go ahead with this. Everybody can see my screen here?
We can see it.
Mhm.
Fantastic.
Yes.
Okay, I'm gonna put it in presentation mode if it'll let me. All right. Okay. Well, I don't want to give subtitles a try. Hello. All right. We're going to kind of breeze right through this. My name is Jessica Ritter. I am the Central California Local Government Relations Rep for SiteLogic. We're going to go through over a few things here. Just to give you guys a little bit of a background, I know I haven't presented to Finance Committee before, so I'll just briefly touch on SiteLogic. We are one of the nation's largest privately held energy services companies. We work specifically with local governments. That includes cities, counties, special districts like yours, and a lot of school districts all across the state. We have tons and tons of references. Can't fit them all on one page. Here are some of our most recent ones, though. We have multiple locations throughout California. So going right into your projects. Okay, this is the Sweetwater project. It is an 80% offset of your usage right now. And this is kind of the sweet spot, right? You may ask, why don't we try to offset 100%? Well, PG&E's rate structure has changed recently, and offsetting 100% of their solar does not pencil out. This is the sweet spot at 80%. This is a ground-mounted system. We've worked tirelessly with the district staff, Nick, Adam, to fine-tune where this solar could go, how much we could fit here. Is this the perfect location? So if you have questions regarding locations and why we did that, just know that it has been vetted and vetted again over the last, Nick, year and a half, maybe, would you say? It's been quite a while.
We've looked at everything.
We have. This site also does include a battery. So with the changes with PG&E's net energy metering rate schedules, that has affected how PG&E stores overproduced kilowatt hours. So under NEM 2, you were able to store a one-to-one credit overproduced kilowatt hours. Under NEM 3, which is the net metering policy we're under now, you're not able to do that. So batteries are needed to make sure that we can capture every kilowatt hour produced by this solar, and so that the district can use it. It's important to note that this battery here is not for resiliency purposes. It is not intended to power your facility when the grid goes down. That is not its intent at all. You have generators to do that, so it wouldn't be needed anyways. But I want to clarify the purpose of the battery is to specifically store overproduce kilowatt hours so that your site can use them when the sun goes down. Please feel free to stop me at any time if you have any questions. This is the Walton Lake site. I don't love it, but we looked at all the sites and this is proposed at a 60% offset. When we get into the financials, you'll see this site doesn't necessarily pay for itself very well. And we'll go into a detail a little bit further, but this is a carport system. So it's raised off the ground and you can park equipment and vehicles under this solar. There's also a battery at this site as well. And this is the district office. This is another 80% offset site. There is a battery here as well. And then there is also EV charging. So there's EV chargers at Sweetwater, one EV charger, one dual port EV charger there. And there are, Eric, correct me if I'm wrong, I believe there are 3 dual port EV chargers here. 2 are proposed to be in the front of your building and 2 are proposed, or 1 is proposed in the back, so behind the gates. The reason why we've got 2 proposed in the front of the facility is that there are grants available to help pay for the cost of these EV chargers if they are open to the public. So that's the caveat, is the public needs to have access to these. These are potential small revenue generators as well. So the district would own these EV chargers and you can set the rates for these. So if a member of the public comes to charge their vehicle, you guys as a district get to determine what that costs. So it can be a revenue generator, but don't get your hopes up as a finance committee. This is not going to generate hundreds of thousands of dollars for you. It may pay for the cost of the EV charger over its lifetime. All right.
Do the grants cover the full cost of those?
They do not. And Eric, correct me if I'm wrong. I believe it's 13,000 per charger or per port.
17,000.
17,000. Thank you, Nick.
17,000 per charger, so 8,500 per port.
Thank
And
you.
the grants are $10,000, so it pays for about 2/3.
Yeah.
And again, just to stress, that's only for the ones those are only for the public facing ones. So the ones that are designed for fleet or behind the gate, those do not qualify for the grant. And that's why we put the 4 out front to kind of utilize that grant to help offset some of those costs.
Question, is there battery backup for those to be used overnight?
There's a battery proposed for the headquarters building as well.
Yes.
This in front, okay.
But it'd also be hooked to the grid. So we're not like going off grid.
Okay.
No.
So the only time that would ever happen is if we had no power.
Right. So your EV chargers won't be connected to the battery, if that's what you were asking. That they'll be pulling energy directly from the grid, which is why you want to charge for this, right? They're going to be basically taking power from your meter. You want to make sure that you're being compensated for that power, and you get to set the rates for that. Okay. Looking at the financial summary, this is for the cash purchase options. We also have a slide to talk about financed options, and you'll see that the payback's not as great when you finance a project because you're obviously borrowing money and there's a cost to that. One site cash is what we're seeing here. This is just for the Sweetwater site, the batteries, and 1 EV charging station. The project cost is here. This is all in, includes district controlled contingency, etc. There is a reimbursement from the Inflation Reduction Act. This is one of the reasons why we're here today to talk to you guys, and we're up against a bit of a timeline as well. We'll go into that a little bit further along in the presentation, but it has everything to do with this IRA reimbursement coming from the federal government. IRA stands for Inflation Reduction Act. That was signed into law under the Biden administration, and the One Big Beautiful Bill Act is getting rid of all of this. So you still have an opportunity to take advantage of this, but time is of the essence. So for your one site cash, your IRA reimbursement is looking at around $670K. The cost for the project after that IRA reimbursement, $2.3 million, with a 30-year net savings to the district of 4.2. So the project does pay for itself pretty well. Now, the reason we have this in here, deposit required to secure IRA, $416K, it's about 15% of the project cost. So with this One Big Beautiful Bill Act, a lot of these incentives are going away, but in order to secure them, we do need to procure materials. So 15% we need to procure before the end of December to secure this IRA reimbursement. And so the kind of copy paste for each site, each one of the scenarios here, one site cash, two sites, this is the Sweetwater and the district office solar. I put an asterisk here because this is my favorite option for your district. If I was sitting on the finance committee or on the board, this would be the option that looks the best to me. We did look at all three sites, and you'll see it's not quite as financially viable as the two sites cash. It does still work, don't get me wrong, but this option here is definitely the best bang for your buck, in our opinion. So it's the Sweetwater Solar and batteries, one EV charging station there, district office solar plus batteries, and 3 EV charging stations there. Project cost 3.7, IRA reimbursement 856K, and a 30-year net savings of just over $4 million. I want to remind you that this 30-year net savings is based on a 6% utility escalation. So in our cash flow scenarios, we have to try to assume that PG&E is going to raise their rates a certain percentage every year. We are very conservative when we say that PG&E is only going to raise their rates 6% every year, because historically speaking, it's been much, much higher than that. When you have solar arrays at your facilities, the more PG&E charges per kilowatt hour, the more valuable your solar is, because you're not buying that energy from the grid at retail costs, you're generating it yourselves. So the more PG&E raises their rates, the more your net savings are going to go up as a result.
I have a quick question. I did some research on how much the rate has gone up that PG&E has charged. And a couple sites, one including the PG&E, says it's gone up 70% in the next 5 years. So as you said, I think the 6% is
Very conservative.
frankly unbelievable. But that gives us context of how this is a good move on the district, because the cost of energy is only going to get up, and it's going to be going up far less than the 6%. So
Agreed.
I think that's a very, very low estimate, and looking at the cost savings.
Yes.
And also it is, am I correct in that realistically we're looking at a cash, not a finance? Is that, because I have a lot of finance questions, but if we're going cash, that's.
I would say I'd lean, as a district, I would lean away from financing this, because you do lose, you have to pay for it, obviously, it's not free.
Yeah.
And if we do a cash deal, then we can start to basically put that money that we would be paying to PG&E right back into the reserve fund or wherever we took the money from. So I would lean probably 75% towards cash, and the financing option is a just in case. We want to make sure we know all of the information.
Okay, would we start off with financing until we get the cash?
No, well, I mean, that's an option. Right now, all we need to do is land the product, and then we can wait until other cash options come in. So that's kind of where we're at. We just want to make sure we get the product here, so we don't want to lose this. It's, what is it?
$856,000.
Oh, yeah, 5 and 5. Oh, there it is, 856. Sorry, my brain was not seeing the number. 856. We don't want to lose that money.
That's savings right off the get-go.
That's right.
So what we're trying to do is basically it's a deposit, but I mean, I'm air quoting deposit.
Yeah.
It's not really a deposit. This is to start the project, but we don't need to like rush the project after that.
Right.
And we need to qualify before the end of this year in order to get that 856,000.
But we have a kind of a drop dead of December 14th, and I don't understand all of you'll have to ask them. It's something with foreign enemy something. I don't understand. It's a regulation policy that is part of the purchasing agreement within that IRA portion.
It's the FEOC, Foreign Entities of Concern. So there are some provisions in the One Big Beautiful Bill Act that basically state that any kind of product coming from any country that is of FEOC concern to the United States you're not going to be able to. And so unfortunately, a lot of the solar panels and batteries are manufactured overseas in countries like China and Taiwan and other Asian nations. So these FEOC requirements are going to be kicking in, which is going to make the purchase of a lot of these energy products more expensive and more difficult. That's what we want to try to avoid for the district.
Thank
So,
you.
of course.
I do
I
have one
have
quick.
a couple of questions. One of them, the EV charging stations we have, we're gonna have some public facing and some behind the fence line.
Yes.
Given that we're moving towards this advanced clean fleets thing, do you feel like the EV stations behind the fence line are adequate?
Yes.
Okay,
And the reason being is we've worked pretty hard and tirelessly on the regulations.
okay,
They're giving us carve outs for many of the vehicles that we have.
okay,
The big trucks that have to have four-wheel drive and utility beds, those are very hard to replicate as an EV vehicle. And so they've given us a variance for those. The board did authorize at the last board meeting to purchase an EV vehicle to have as a car for going to conferences, to going to the post office, to going to the bank, and doing district business that's not off-road. It is all-wheel drive, so if it's snowing, we do have an all-wheel drive, but it's not really made to go up into the canal sections and stuff. But we did purchase one, so we will have one of those for that vehicle. And then there are potentials down the road for getting some smaller pickup trucks that can be EVs, but it's not really been, we're not mandated right now because of some of the variances we have.
okay, that's awesome. And then production, is there a production guarantee?
Yes, there is.
Okay.
Yep. So that
Well,
actually, oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, go ahead.
Oh,
please.
I was just going to note that one of the reasons why we like to escalate utility at such a very conservative rate at 6% is because we also have this performance guarantee, right? So in the performance guarantee, if we were to fall below our expected performance guarantee, we are required to write the district a check for the difference. This is something that all energy companies that work with local government, I wouldn't say all, but the big ones, the big companies like mine that work with local governments all have this performance guarantee that they offer. Because you're using taxpayer dollars to fund these projects, you as a board need a guarantee that the savings are going to be what we say they're going to be. And we're not just throwing out numbers there. So absolutely, there's a performance guarantee. Yes.
Okay, and then any warranties on, sorry.
Sorry, I was just wanted to clarify that the guarantee is on the performance of the equipment. So we verify we'll produce a certain amount of kilowatt hours. That's just to make sure that we're not guaranteeing savings, because we can't predict what PG&E is going to do with their rates and that sort of thing. But we can guarantee that the
Produce
solar
so
and the
many-
battery will do what it's supposed to do.
Thank you,
Okay.
Eric. Thank you for clarifying.
Yeah.
And then as far as warranties on the batteries and on the panels, and is your warranty just standard, like industry standard, pretty competitive with what's out there?
Yeah, our warranty it's a 1-year workmanship warranty. So that's the standard for contractors in California. But the manufacturers, so the panels are warranted for 25 years. So that's a great warranty. And the batteries, I believe, are warranted for 15 years. Eric, correct me if I'm wrong. And we can potentially purchase an extended warranty for those.
It varies on the manufacturer. It's anywhere between 5 and 15 years.
Okay, perfect.
And my other thing I got stuck on was the 80% offset, but I'm taking your word for it. You guys have run the numbers, and that is the sweet spot, the highest value place. So I'm just gonna let that lie. So Nick, this is for you. Whether we go loan or we pay cash, will there be an impact to rates? I mean, an additional.
I don't foresee that right now. That's why we're trying to do this. If we can do this without losing that money, that 856,000, I think that would be the best part of this, is if we can continue to maintain that credit. It's a grant, tax credit, however you want to use it.
Okay.
If we were to try to do this without that, I think that it would be a little bit too much of a stretch on the rates. We do have some funding that should come available to pay for this. So I don't foresee this impacting the rates at all.
Okay. And then the last question I had, sorry, how many proposals are we vetting?
So we have worked with other companies in the past. We had some other presentations. This is the company that the board went to go with. There is a special provision called 4217 where we can utilize a sole source for solar projects under some green energy law in California. So this is the proposal that we've
So this
looked
is
at.
the final cut. Okay. All right, that's all my questions.
Good questions, very good questions. The slide we're looking at now.
Manager in the room.
The slide that we're looking at now is the same but financed, right? So same project cost, but this is what it would look like if the district decided to finance any one of these three scenarios. So I don't know if we need to go into a whole lot of detail on here, but you have this, keep it in your back pocket. Typically in these financing scenarios, the financiers would take that IRA deposit as a deposit to, they would take it to basically buy down the project. Actually, Michael, I've got a financier here on the call. Maybe you can touch on that, Michael.
Yeah, thank you, Jessica. And good afternoon, everyone. Yeah, typically, if we're looking at financing these types of projects, we use the IRA subsidy to buy down the loan amount. So, and the reason we do that is because it reduces your annual costs to service the loan each year and helps the project cash flow better on an annual basis. So that's typically how we structure these. If we were to move forward with the financing option, which sounds like we're not, but just to share the information, we would serve as the district's placement agent, and on your behalf, we would reach out to multiple banks to try to solicit the best possible interest rate in the market to get you the lowest possible debt service costs in the market. Doesn't sound like we're going that way, but that's kind of how the process would work. We would share those proposals with you, review them with you, and make a selection together with you and your board.
Question, do you have kind of a range of what those interest rates would be? Because I'm looking at paying off in future dollars of today dollars, and the value of the dollar is going down. So what are we looking at, 6.5%?
Right now, for this type of financing, it would depend on the structure. There's different ways these deals could be structured. One way is with a pledge of your revenues. Another way is securing this as an equipment lease. But I think generally for like a 20-year type term, which is what we're looking at here, interest rates would be anywhere from 4.5% to 5%. I think these models assume a 4.75%.
Yep.
And we have these do have the 4.75% is based on preliminary conversations we've had with prospective banks who would be interested. So that is kind of where the market is currently.
Thank you.
Not terrible. Not as good as it used to be, but definitely not as bad as it has been recently. So if we're good on this slide, I'll go ahead and just continue on.
I do have one question for Michael before you move too far in advance. Michael, obviously things are moving at the Fed, and if we were to come back, say in 6 months, do you foresee that it would be more advantageous to take a loan out where we could get a much lower interest rate, or do you not see it moving that fast?
If I had a crystal ball and could predict where rates would be in 6 months, I might have a different job. Maybe no job. It's really up in the air with the interest rates. When the Fed lowered rates just recently, Treasury rates actually went up initially after that. A lot of the rates that you're seeing from the banks are built on expectations on where rates will be in the future.
Yeah.
And so it's hard to gauge 6 months out, especially with how the economy is behaving currently. We're kind of at the whim of the monthly inflation reports, the monthly unemployment reports. I think most expect rates to continue to come down over the next 6 to 12 months. Would it be, substantial and significant drop from the 4.75% that we were quoting earlier? Maybe we could get to the low fours potentially, but if inflation comes in higher over the next couple months, rates could go the other way.
Thank you. All right. So just moving on, we're almost done with this quick presentation here. Every project that we sell comes with, of course, our performance guarantee, and it does come with a dashboard as well. So this is a very user-friendly dashboard that is completely web-based and completely customizable, but we can go back as far as PG&E will give us data, and we can really show both you guys and your constituents. If you wanted to have this as a live link on your website, you are able to. A lot of our clients do, but it can kind of show you what your energy consumption and costs were for all of your sites going back several years. And then once your solar is up and producing, there's a page in this dashboard that can show you, what that solar is producing, how much it's saving each site, etc. So it's kind of a cool little add-on to our projects, but it's also very helpful when trying to justify the taxpayer dollars that are used to fund these projects. So, okay, going into the Inflation Reduction Act timeline, I know we talked a lot about this, but your project does qualify for a 25.5% basically rebate from the cost of your project. And then beginning in 2026, again, we mentioned this already with the One Big Beautiful Bill Act, there are new restrictions, and there are foreign entities of concern issues that are impacting projects and supply chain eligibility in a very major way. There is safe harbor. So we are asking, the safe harbor deadline is December 31st, but we are asking the district to make your decision by December 14th because we need time to actually place those orders with all of the manufacturers. And we don't want to do that at the last minute. We don't want to do that with 5 days before December 31st. We do have a lot of clients that are doing this right now, exactly what you guys are considering. So in order to give our team enough time to properly secure your equipment, we are asking that the district have a deadline of December 14th.
I have just one quick question.
Sure.
So if we find we've purchased the system and then we find our needs have grown and we need to augment the panels or the capacity, then if there are future NEM versions, if we augment the system at that point, does that mean that we get bumped out of NEM 3 into NEM 4 or NEM 5 or?
Yes, what a great question. And actually very detailed. Yes, the answer is absolutely. So if you're touching that same meter. So when we apply for net energy metering and the interconnection application with PG&E, you're locked into that net metering rate for 20 years, right? If you touch that meter, if you adjust the size of the system, I believe it's plus or minus 10%, Eric, please correct me if I'm wrong, then it does bump you into the new NEM rate schedule. So this has kind of been an issue for people or homeowners with solar, right? Like maybe you built a system several years ago, but your need has grown and you want to add more panels. Well, you're on a favorable NEM 2 rate schedule. And if you touch that solar system or if you amend it plus or minus 10%, you're going to be automatically bumped to NEM 3. That is an issue for local government agencies as well. But there are ways around it. In your instance, we could drop a brand new meter. We could shift load to a new meter. Or, so there are ways around it that residential homeowners don't really have available to them that you do. So to answer your question, yes, but there could be workarounds, and these systems are absolutely designed to be expanded if you need to.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. This slide's just going over a little bit more of the FEOC restrictions. I don't know if we need to touch on it. I think we've beat that horse as dead as it can be beaten. And this is just where we're at in the process. So as Nick said, we've been vetted through the district. We've done a lot of work to date. I mean, a ton. And we are at the stage where we are verifying this scope of work, making sure that the board and finance committee are both okay with this. And we are on the path to posting the 2-week notice for Government Code 4217 compliance. That's the government code Nick was referring to that allows public agencies to select one company to do both design and build of energy projects specifically. We are going to be sending over a draft contract for Nick and legal to review. And then we can go from there. So, the purpose of today's meeting is one, to secure your IRA, right? And then there's more questions to be had here, though, and there's more things to take into consideration. Yes, you need to secure your equipment. If you have the cash to get the project started, that would be even more beneficial for the district. Or you can hold those materials and wait until the cash funding is there. This project saves a considerable amount every year. And I think I can pull up the cash flow here. Give me just a second, and I will, Nick, if it's okay with you, we'll just take a quick look at that 2-site option cash flow.
Sure.
I don't know if the Finance Committee has that, but let me share my screen again. Get this pulled up for you. All right. So this is the cash flow scenario, and this is a very important part of our job, is to make sure that these projects are self-funded, that they fund themselves over their life. So the expected useful life for the solar is 30 years, although it will last a lot longer. They're warranted for 25. So everything in red is outgoing costs. So in a cash funded scenario, in this 2 sites cash, the cash funded is 3.7 million. That's going out. And then you have some additional costs of ownership. We like to show true cost of ownership. So when you own something, you have to maintain it, and solar and batteries are no different than any other type of mechanical equipment that you have. The O&M, which stands for operation and maintenance for the batteries, $2,700 in year 1. You see that this fluctuates, though. It's not the same every single year. And that's because batteries don't always need the same amount of maintenance every year. Some years they may need a little bit more, and some years they may need very, very little. But you will see here that there is kind of a significant bump in costs around year 16. And that's because the cells in the batteries will need to be changed out. So you don't need to replace the whole battery, but the components of the battery should be changed out at around year 16. And we want to account for cost of that. So these 2 columns here, battery O&M and solar O&M, are really just for you, for the district, to know how much do we need to budget for maintenance for these 2 new assets every single year. So this is a guideline. And so again, showing true cost of ownership, we've got that built into the cash flow. Everything in green is incoming money, gross. And then everything in blue is what's left over for the district net savings after everything's been paid. So you see here the influx of the IRA, $856K roughly. And then you have your annual project savings, which is over $100,000 and increases 6% annually with utility escalation. Down here are just all the inputs. So the cost of the project, the soft costs, which is permitting, special inspections, all of those things, contingency, which is customer controlled contingency. And then you have your IRA contribution. So this is all of the inputs, all the data that's populating into this table above. Are there any questions about the cash flow?
I just want to add one thing to that I think is important to note. The total project cost is 2.8 million. So it's hard to see that. Obviously, there are other inputs in there, but the return on the investment is not all the way out to the 30 years. And she's just showing how much cash the district will see. And that is, again, at that more conservative energy rate.
Correct.
Question, when we look at the offset, I looked up to see what we spent on the electricity, PG&E costs for water treatment. And for both Sweetwater and Walton, it was about 300,000. And for the administration, it was about 45,000.
Mm-hmm.
So when you talk about an 80% offset, does that mean that the district's out-of-pocket cost for admin would be only 20% of what it is now? So we can look at basically 80% of what we're paying now will help either pay for the loan or will be generating income if we cash out.
So the only thing that you need to understand is that 320 also includes Walton, and we're not proposing to put
Yeah.
something at Walton.
Yeah,
I think Walton is about 60 to 70,000 a year. It's much less
Yeah.
than Sweetwater.
yeah,
So that is why we're not utilizing it as much. So you have to take, I think it's 250-ish
Okay.
is what we use at Sweetwater. So 80% of that is where they calculate. And then here, you're right, it's about, I don't know, 45,000 a year. And so it'd be 80% of that.
Okay, so we as a district would see a savings of a reduction in the PG&E bill of 80% of the 45,000.
That's correct.
And we could use that money to either pay off a loan or.
I do want to clarify that when we say 80%, it's 80% offset of the usage, which doesn't necessarily translate to 80% of the bill, just because there's taxes and fees and other things that are tacked on in addition to your usage charges. So it's probably not a full 80% of the bill, but it's probably, 70, 75%.
Okay, that's the question I'm trying to get at is when we're looking at future budgets, where does the 80% go? And you're saying it's closer to maybe 75, so.
What's the usage? So that's what they're saying, you're gonna use 80% less power. And so as we get further along, it's gonna be potentially more than 80% of the bill because the power costs are gonna be different.
Exactly. And that's why so we can only generate kilowatt hours with your solar, right? That's all we can do, but we don't have control over what PG&E does. So, and like Eric mentioned, and thank you, Eric, you beat me to it. Your bill includes a lot more than just your cost per kilowatt hour, right? So we can't offset things like, anyways, I think you get it.
Distribution, all that stuff.
All right, when I look at that utility cost, it includes three components. The distribution, the cost of the energy, and something else. It would be a 75% of the utility bill, would be a 75% of what the cost of energy is, not counting the delivery charges and so on.
Correct.
Okay, so that's a whole different calculation.
Chairman, we do have a question online from Sheree.
Sheree,
Yes.
do you have a question?
Yeah. Why aren't you discussing maybe another option of part cash and part financing? That could also be an alternative instead of just all in the two different baskets. And then I have a question on the cash sites summary. What's the MM and the K after the figures mean? That's not what we have on the screen.
MM stands for million and K stands for 1,000. Mm-hmm.
Oh, okay. Well,
just an abbreviation.
Okay. So why is there such a big difference between the cash and the financed as far as the net savings?
Nick, would you like me to answer that question? Are we doing dialogue?
You can answer. I think the answer that you kind of already answered it, so I'll give you what I think the answer is. It's because they take that IRA contribution and use it to give you less of a loan. So when you're going to get a loan, you get a better rate, better amortization chart.
Yeah, but the financed option has 1.8 million as net savings, and the cash has 4 million.
Because you have to pay for the loan. So the loan's not free, so you have to pay interest on the loan, and so that's calculated. 2.2 million for the loan then, basically. No, that's not what it's saying.
It's kind of like your mortgage, Sheree. You get the money now and then you pay it over a period of time and you pay a lot more in interest than you do to pay down the loan.
It's the cost of borrowing money. Exactly.
Okay, so it's $2.2 million in interest is the difference between the net savings. So that's the interest.
Probably over the life of the loan, that's probably right, or close to it.
Okay, because it's not on this page that she has here. It's the one where it says financial summary.
Yes.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, well, that's all right. And then there's also the option of using the money that's in the banks as collateral instead of just getting an uncollateralized loan.
This is.
So the loans are always secured. I'm speaking for Michael right now, but the loans can be secured in a couple of ways. Because you're a public agency, you can pledge revenues because you are a revenue generator. You're a water district. but there's also another financing that is secured by the equipment. It's called an equipment lease purchase.
Right.
And yes, so, and again, Michael, sorry, stealing your thunder here, but if the district did decide to look down those financing paths, then Oppenheimer would bring forth several options for the district to consider.
Yeah, and under, if we were to pursue a financing, you would not be required to pledge cash as collateral. As Jessica mentioned, those two other options would be what's typical in financing these types of deals, either through pledging the equipment itself or pledging your net revenues, the net revenues of the district.
Okay, but I was a bank officer, and anybody that collateralized their loans with cash got a lower interest rate. Is that not?
Yeah, it's just not typical in this space.
Right.
It's true. We could probably find a bank that would say, sure, if you were to deposit, $2 million with us, we can give you beneficial pricing, interest rate pricing. That's probably true. But usually what we found is districts aren't interested in, moving banking relationships and opening new depository relationships with new banks for, let's call it 20 basis points of benefit. Maybe could be more, maybe, but now I'm speaking for the banks and I haven't talked to them recently about their relationship pricing. But so yes, there could be benefits to that, but it's probably not too significant.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome.
All right, well, I think we're gonna take this under consideration and move on to the rest of the kind of information for the potential rate increase portion of this. So if there's any other questions for Jessica or the team, I think ask now or.
Just a quick question, the figure of the cost of financing, is that based on a 30-year loan? Because that's what I saw
That's what it looked like.
To me,
It's 20 years. It is
20 years.
20-year loan.
20-year.
okay.
Mhm.
I got a question.
That's
Hello?
Steve Dow.
Yes, Steve.
Yes, Steve.
Yeah, I've got a question. Jessica, on your, I was there at the board meeting on Thursday, and you mentioned that the panels have a 25 to 30-year warranty. Is that correct?
25, correct.
25, yeah. And you said they last about 30 years.
They'll last
And then-
a lot longer than 30 years. They degrade about 0.5% every single year. So it will take them a very long time to fully degrade into nothingness. At which point a lot of customers who have built solar arrays, say 15 years ago, they're replacing panels, right? With newer equipment, but all of the infrastructure is there. But yes, I mean, solar panels will produce for a very, very long time, warranted for 25. We do a 30-year cash flow just because why do a 50-year cash flow, right? 30 years is kind of a great little median right there. Hopefully that answers your question.
Yes, but you also mentioned that there's one component in the solar panels, it's the relay or something like that lasts. The inverter. That's what it was. Thank you. It lasts like 15 years.
Correct.
And is that part of the warranty?
So the inverters are warranted for 15 years. What a lot of our customers do is buy an extended warranty for the inverters. So thank you for mentioning that, Stephen. In a solar array, the thing that's going to fail first is going to be the inverters. The panels are very, very hardy. Unless a rock is dropped on them, which happens sometimes, they are going to continue to produce and there won't be very many issues. The inverters are the components that will fail first. So 15 years is a good warranty for inverters, but you have an option to buy an extended warranty for the inverters, and we can look at that option for you as well.
Yeah, that's great. Can you get an extended warranty for the panels too?
I don't think so. Eric, maybe you know the answer to that question. I don't know. I've never had a customer want to buy an extended warranty for the panels.
Yeah, I'm not sure about that either. I think because typically everybody kind of associates 25 with the life of them, and so at that point, I don't know. We'd have to talk to manufacturers. That there may be a possibility for that.
Could be.
So-
I don't want to say no. I don't know.
So at the end of the extended life, you have to replace all the panels and redo the whole project again then?
Not necessarily. So, 30 years from now, who knows what the district's going to be doing, right? You guys could be power producers by that point. I don't know. But if the district wanted to kind of revamp the system, you can absolutely do that. So and we have a lot of customers that built solar a long time ago that are recommissioning, is what they call it. And so maybe we'll replace 10% of the panels, and that gets you back up to full production, right? Or production that you were looking at 5 years ago. So there are a lot of options for down the road. But the good thing is that the infrastructure is in place, and the infrastructure is very, very expensive. So once that's in place, you set your panels, your inverters, your batteries, and then you have your annual maintenance. 20 years from now, if you decide to expand the system, you're able to do that because the infrastructure is there.
Jessica?
I wanted to piggyback off of that too, if I could. That we're looking, going back to what Jessica said about 20-year-old panels. You're looking at most panels are about 300 times more efficient than they were 20 years ago. So when you reach that end of life, it might make more sense to replace it with something that's substantially more efficient without taking up a larger footprint.
Yes. Thank you.
Jessica, this is Steve still. I remember in your presentation back in March, I believe it was, you were talking about how you're not going to get the panels from China. Is that correct?
Correct. These are Canadian solar panels that we're proposing, and I believe they're originally manufactured in Taiwan. Eric, correct me if I'm wrong. And then assembled somewhere in Canada, branded Canada, Canadian solar, and I believe it's Canadian solar panels and inverters that we're looking at. And for the batteries, Eric, you're going to have to remind me which batteries that we have selected for this project. It could be Tesla, it could be a couple different kinds, depending on size.
For the water treatment site, we're using Solarc batteries, and then at the district office, we're using a small battery called Yada.
Thank you.
Jessica, I want to commend you guys on your presentation. It was really good. And I want to urge the Finance Committee to go across the street to the elementary school, Georgetown Elementary School, and look at your project that you completed over there, the solar panels.
Yeah.
You've got like three panels over there, and they're just beautiful and superstructures. I mean, I think they need to go and look at it to see what kind of quality work you do.
Oh, I appreciate that, Stephen. I'll send you your check in the mail. Black Oak Mine is one of our clients. So yes, we've got our structures right there, just down the street, I think. So.
PO Box 182. Thank you, Jessica.
Thank you, Steve.
One quick question. For the extended warranty on the inverters, what kind of cost are we looking at? I mean, that's going to come off of our savings ultimately. So I just want to.
Yeah, I think it depends on how many inverters we have. And you know what, Nick, I can follow up with you and get that to you in an email. I don't know off the top of my head because it depends on how many inverters. Yeah.
And then maybe when you do replace the inverters, how much those cost versus the warranty, stuff like that. So we know that, we're not throwing good money after bad.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah. Were those costs included in your own M costs on your other chart?
Sorry?
Inverter replacement?
No, I don't believe we have inverter replacement in the cash flow here. No.
Okay. All right.
Yes, we do. We do have inside the solar O&M cost, there is some money built in for inverter replacement.
Let me reshare.
Okay.
Is this what I'm looking at year 15 here? The $26,000 jump, Eric?
Yeah, I believe so.
Well, then there you go.
And much like Jessica said about the battery, this is just a guideline. Obviously, like these numbers are not hard and fast. It's you replace them as you need to, and these are just guidelines so you can look at the overall financial picture.
That's good. I'm glad you included those replacement costs.
I'll still get you the cost for the extended warranty.
That'd be good.
Yes.
All right.
I think we're gonna move over to Nancy. Nancy, I'm gonna let you go ahead and share your screen. I'll give you permission.
We're going to go ahead and sign off now, guys.
Yeah,
Thank you so much for your time today.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Thank you all. Bye-bye.
That was great.
So Nancy is with Water Resource Economics. We hired them last year to do our cost of service analysis. Sanjay, you may remember the name Sanjay. So Nancy worked with Sanjay. Unfortunately, he is traveling, so he's not able to join us today. And the lucky dog's over in India with his dad, I believe. So good for him. But Nancy was the brains behind the operation of putting all the numbers together. So we got the A team right here. So I'll turn it over to Nancy because she's going to go over kind of what the analysis is of the original cost of service and then how it kind of compares as we move forward. So Nancy, go ahead.
Great. Thank you, Nicholas, and good afternoon, Finance Committee members. My name is Nancy Fan. I'm a principal consultant here at Water Resources Economics. As Nicholas just mentioned, Sanjay and I did work on the rate study last year with the district, and so I'm excited to be back and go through the comparisons of what your financial plan looks like compared to what we have now versus what we had projected in the rate study. So all of these comparisons that I'm showing on our agenda today are in relation to both of the studies. So this current one with our new updated data as well as new projections and budgets and the prior study which had all of the projections related to that. And so we can kind of compare and contrast and see what changed and see where you are currently. So everything, all of the comparisons that I'm going to make today, operating expenses, CIP, all of the graphs that related to the financial plan, those will all assume we are keeping that 10% revenue adjustment per year on the rate study calculations, except for that last slide right there where we kind of show what it looks like if we didn't implement those as adopted. And I'm hoping this presentation is more of a discussion. So if you have questions for me at any point in the presentation, please feel free to interrupt. And so with that, I'm going to start with a couple of slides. There's a lot going on here. So I'm going to walk through each of the components here separately. This first slide is the comparison of O&M expenses separated by department from the current study, which is this top portion, versus the expenses from the prior study. And then this bottom section here of that main table is going to be the difference in dollar amount. So updated in the current study here is we got fiscal 2025 actuals since that fiscal year has passed, and then we received the fiscal year 2026 budget, and then we projected using the same inflationary factors as we used in the rate study. So as you can see here, there's about a $200,000 to $300,000 difference per year in expenses. So by department, all departments went up a little bit except for source of supply, which went down. So overall, 5-year time period that we're looking at, there is an increase of $1.4 million in O&M expenses across all of the departments. So this has all of the operating expenses based on department. This tiny table here shows the split between what the different categories are. So the different inflationary categories that we used in the last study were salaries, benefits, general, utilities, and capital. And so of all the expenses, expense categories, the benefits and general categories increased. Salary increased a little bit, but more or less kind of stayed the same. Utilities went down, and then capital expenses that live on the operating budget, that went as well. Within general, the big increases to each item, those were related to materials and supplies. Okay. So that's the first portion. That's operating. So now moving to capital expenses. We have the financing plan, same structure here. This piece is the current study. This is the prior study. And then portion of the table is going to be the difference. So one part that's different, as you can see here, is that the current study, we do have CIP for fiscal year 2029. That is new. We have CIP for priority 1 through 3 projects 2029 as the last rate study, and the updated CIP, we do have that. So that adds about $500,000 in that 1 year. Priority 1 project costs increased the most from the prior study. So over the 5-year total, we're increasing $3 million total. And then priority 2 project costs decreased by just under $1 million. And then priority 3 project costs increased by just under $100,000. And I believe that the priority 1, there were a couple of projects that increased. I think one of the major ones was the cost of distribution tank coating in priority 1. And I will defer any specific questions about CIP to staff. Okay. Okay, now moving on to the financial plan graphs. I'll tie it all in, all these graphs in at the end of the presentation, but I'll walk you through all the graphs that we typically analyze as part of our financial plan process. So the first graph that we're seeing here is the revenue requirement. Left side is always going to be the current study. Right side is going to be the prior study projections. And as I mentioned previously, this is still assuming we are keeping that 10% adjustment for these 4 years in the rate structure. So the column, the stacked bars here are going to be the costs or expenses to the district system. So that blue portion is O&M expenses, is debt service. That gray is rate funded CIP. And then if we are funding reserves, there is a blue portion, which isn't really, we're not seeing that in this leftmost column. The lines here are reflected of the revenues. The revenues are based on the 1 year of rate adjustments that we've already adopted, and then the proposed revenue is with that 10% adjustment. So the label up top, that is the proposed revenue. That stays relatively the same between what we see in the current study and the prior study. Maybe off by just a little bit, but you're pretty much on the same track as we expected you to be. And then the bottom right here, that's related to the operating expenses. And so as I mentioned in the first slide, we are seeing an increase in operating expenses, and so as well as expenses. So that results in less funds that we have available to maintain or build our reserves over time. Okay, next slide is your capital funding comparison. This is really just a graphical format of what we saw a couple of slides ago. So as I mentioned previously, we do have increases in rate funded CIP expenses across pretty much all of the years. And so there are some pretty substantial increases to the plan. Prior study, the total over 4 years was $3.9 million total, and the current study is $6.1 million total over 4 years. That reflects a $2.2 million increase over the 4-year period, and we are assuming that all of it is going to be rate funded or PAYGO funded. This graph shows the debt coverage comparison between the current and the prior study. So debt coverage is a calculation where we take the revenues minus your operating expense and divide it by your debt service, which is about $600,000 a year. The debt projections, because our operating expenses have increased, they're going to be lower in the current study than what we projected in the prior study, but the district is still able to meet its coverage requirement of 125% for all 4 years. And then finally, probably the most impactful slide of them all is the fund balance comparison between the current study and the prior study. So when we do a rate study, we take all the expenses and have result in meeting all of your financial targets, such as debt coverage and fund balance. So the bars here, they represent what your projected ending balances are given all of your updated budgeted costs as well as CIP. And then the dashed line here is the reserve target, based on the same reserve policy that was adopted as part of the last rate study. So that is 33% of O&M expenses per year, average CIP costs, and then an additional $2 million for emergencies, any asset failures or natural disasters, etc. And so as you can see here, the projected fund balances in our current study are going to be lower than the prior study projections because there was that increase in operating and capital expenses. And so even keeping the 10% adjustments here, we are seeing lower reserves than we had previously expected. And tying all of those graphs together, this is again the current with the updated operating expenses, updated CIP, updated customer data, all flowing into these 4 graphs that we reviewed in the prior couple slides: revenue requirement, fund balances, debt coverage, and capital project funding. As a comparison to that, here is the current financial plan if we weren't to implement the 10% rate adjustments over the next 4 years. So as you can see here in the revenue, the current and proposed revenue stays the same because we're not increasing it by 10%. Because that line is lower than the stacked bars, that means we don't have enough money to fund our expenses. And so we can see that here in the fund balance graph, we start at a fairly healthy reserve balance, the reserve target, and then slowly depleting the funds with it going negative in fiscal year 2029. Similarly, for debt coverage, the district is able to meet required coverage for that first year, 10% adjustments that were adopted as part of the last rate study. We are not able to meet our debt coverage in the latter 3 years, resulting in technical default. And then the capital project funding we are showing as staying the same as in the prior slide here. So that is actually it for all the slides. And now I went through some items maybe a little bit quickly. So I'm happy to go back to the previous slides if you have any specific questions about that.
Well, Nick, one question, this CIP increase,
Yes.
that accounts for the solar.
No, it
correct?
does not.
Okay, so what's happening then?
So there are projects that have come up since we did the study that we've had to reassess and move into different priorities. It is the Ford Siphon, which we're hoping to get a grant for, but unfortunately right now it's kind of in limbo with everything happening at the federal level. And that's about $500,000. There are some treated water line replacements as well that we are anticipating needing to be completed. And those are about $1.5 million. So that's where the additional cost is
$2 million right there.
Okay.
Now we obviously can defer certain things, but those are part of the things that we'd like to get done that are fairly critical for the district because of things that we've seen happen. We had a couple of large breaks over the last 2 months, and those treated water line are we need to upgrade them to better fire flows, and that helps with obviously with the wildfire restrictions that we have up here. So there's kind of a number of reasons why we need to do those. But like I said, if we need to defer, we can defer, and again, I'm always looking for grant funding. So we have an appropriation out for $3 million to pay for those 2 projects. I just can't guarantee that those are going to come in yet, but if those come in, then it would kind of offset some of that stuff.
Are those state or federal?
That's a federal appropriation.
Because federal, it might not be so promising.
Yes and no. I mean, I'm going to say that it has a potential. We're not at 0 yet, but we're not at 100% anymore. Did you want to add something to that, Michael? You seem like
wait for the children to recognize them.
Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead, Mike.
So I had a question. Does this include the grants that we have in the offsets there? Does any of the grants included in this?
So we haven't allocated those grants are not allocated into these priority levels, and I can bring up the capital improvement budget if you'd like to look at it.
The second one is that she did say that this will be covered by the customers or pay-go, the board did set a specific cap to the amount the customers will pay.
Yes.
So is that included in that? 'Cause
So
it can increase if we gave them
There
their
are-
percent limit.
there are, I think, if you averaged out the capital improvements over the 5 years, it is the limit that we set. There are certain projects in certain years that are higher than that limit that we set. I want to pull up the budget just so I can know all the things that we added on there. It wasn't that we added, they were kind of reassessed the priorities. Sorry. So I'll just share the screen real quick so everybody can see what we're all looking at together. Nancy, I'm going to share my screen for 1 minute.
Yeah, no problem.
Yeah, let me just show this real quick and then
Tori has a question. I didn't even see these.
See the hand, the yellow hand by Sherry's name?
Oh, okay.
So let's go to the capital improvement plan. So here's the capital improvement. Wow, that is really big, isn't it? You can read all those words, but I can't read them on the screen and I'm sitting in front of it. So what you'll see here is the tunnel inspection came in higher than we originally anticipated. The distribution tank coating came in at almost $700,000. So and that is for Angel Camp, which is feeds ALT, Pilot Hill, and most of Cool. So that is a huge increase in where we needed to go with that. And then there are down here, these, if you notice right in here, these are also included. So there's the waterline replacements and some vehicle replacements that we had to do. So this is where some of the changes came in that we had to submit.
Sherry, you have a question?
Yes.
Go ahead. Go ahead.
Okay, why wasn't this included in the packet? One
Because
question.
It's an outside presentation that we didn't have until just recently, and you will have it added as part of the minutes or the packet later. You had another question?
Anything else? Sherry? We lost her.
Nancy, can you hear us?
Yep.
Okay.
Do you need me to share my screen again?
Sure, you can. I just wanted to make sure that we didn't get frozen on our end.
Nope, I'm still here.
And maybe if I can just clarify, you're recommending the 10% to continue to move forward as originally scheduled by the board.
That's right.
And I will say to answer your question, obviously we can move things around. And I'm hoping to bring in more funding. We do have the word of money that we can allocate to some of the projects that we have coming up. And that may be some of the things we do. So we have a $20 million grant that we can allocate to any kind of water supply challenges that we have.
Okay.
It's very flexible on some of the things we can do. So we do have options.
Okay.
And there are other.
Okay, I haven't still had my question. I don't know what happened. I got muted.
No, nobody muted you, Sheree.
Go ahead.
Well, I had to unmute myself. So my question is, what is the time period for these calculations for this fiscal year? July 1st to the end of October?
The fiscal year that we're showing here, each fiscal year is from July 1st to June 30th, and it's from fiscal year 26.
Okay, so the one for this year, for it's labeled 2026. I'm assuming that's from July 1st until what period? October?
To June 30th, 2026.
Okay, but you're projecting overages in this year's, I'm just talking this year's budget. It looks like it's over by 295,000 in expenses. I'm only talking expenses.
That's right. With the updated budget, compared to the prior study projections, the expenses are up by just under 300,000. That's correct.
Okay, so we're over budget by 295,000 for this fiscal year based on what's already been paid out.
We're spending
What's
a little
already
bit more than
paid out
last
and-
year, is what she's trying to say.
Is what? Okay, I can't. She's breaking up.
Let's say we're budgeting.
Her link is breaking up when she speaks.
Yeah, the 238,000 projections, yes, correct.
So is this a projection or is this an actual? The 295,046, 80, yeah, 46.
The current study is based on the fiscal year 2026 budget. Fiscal year 26 has not been completed yet, so there are no actuals for that year. And then the prior study is based on the projections of fiscal year 2026 as a part of the 2025 budget. So comparing projection to projection, we are $95,000 over where we thought we previously were.
Okay, this is not actual budget for fiscal year 2026. It's not the actual budget.
No.
Okay, how are you projecting it then?
It's based on the budgeted, the district's year 2026 budget.
Okay. Oh, so it's different. It's different than the rate study from a year ago. Okay, I got it.
Mhm.
Okay, thanks.
If I could just clarify, the most of the extra, what she's referring to is coming from those capital costs that we're having to.
Shuffle around.
Yes.
Yeah.
No, I'm talking expenses, not capital expenses.
On the bottom right corner of the graphic. Can you go
Operating expenses.
Nancy, can you go back to the graph for me? On the bottom right hand, oh, no, you had it right there.
One more.
This one, is that one?
One more.
One more.
This one right here.
Yeah.
So on the bottom corner, you see the 295,046. And what you're noticing on the very, very bottom is 188,000 is an offset in capital costs. So nearly 2/3 of the additional funding has been coming in capital costs. That's what I was trying to reference.
Okay, I don't see 188 anywhere, so.
It's right here. If you can see my mouse, it is in that bottom right,
Oh, on the right?
smaller table.
On the right?
For capital. Yeah.
Okay, can barely see it. Okay. All right, thanks.
Well, I mean, I'm not in charge, so. Chairman, I think you go ahead, Mike.
Oh, the board did set a cap to the capital that the ratepayers would get. So if that could be reflected and anything that's over that.
That was 800 and something thousand, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, like we can go back and look at that.
So I mean, because when they said that the customers have to pay and there's a 2 million gap and we set 800, it can't go over that 800. I mean, we set that, that's a board policy.
Yeah, yeah.
So that needs to be
Yeah, so there are other opportunities to pay for stuff out of reserve funds, and so that's, I see what you're saying, and we.
Okay.
But we can't go above it, is what I'm saying.
Got it, so.
In terms of collecting from the customer to make
correct.
up the short.
So yes, we do need the siphon, and maybe it is 2 million, but we set a cap, so. That's,
Okay. Thank you.
Well, I guess my question is, what do you want us to do?
Well, I mean, my hope is that you can bless this to the board or give some recommendation to the board. I think we have two pieces here, you know, do we want to do the solar project? Do we want to do this rate increase? You know, how, do you feel like we need to go full rate increase, partial rate increase? And, you know, whatever you recommend to the board would be what I'm asking for.
My biggest concern is delaying a rate increase where it clobbers everybody down the road. That's what happened over in Placerville. That's what's happening with, you know, the Affordable Care Act, on and on and on. You hold a rate increase, and the next thing that happens is down the road, then you're gonna really have a problem because people won't be able to afford it. So if we're gonna increase the rates and do it now, as opposed to waiting. The question then is, how much do you want to increase it and how much do we need to increase it? Now, if we've got a cap of $800,000. Okay,
let's calculate that to make sure that is 10% where we need to be, or are we somewhere between 5 and 10%?
correct.
Are you saying for capital projects it's 800,000, right?
Yes.
Yeah, this is different. This includes operating expenses. So
And-
the entire thing here is a little bit different than just that 800,000. So I just wanted you to
I
understand.
understand that, but we got $800,000 that you really can't allocate over to rates. All right, anything over.
Oh,
above
yes,
that. Okay, so then you have to figure out what your interim cost is in between those things.
I can work on that with Nancy and we can
Yeah.
determine what the numbers are, so we have something.
I'd like to know what that percentage is. It's gonna come in hopefully under 10, for sure, but
I mean, we have been getting grants, so and then to answer your question, I know, so we had 1 year of allocation where we had up to close to 6.8 million or something like that. The congressional budget didn't pass, so that money's gone away. This year, our budget, as you can see what's going on, there are 3 budget omnibuses in that does have appropriations, so I think we have up to February for those to get passed. If they don't get passed, then that's another budget where we have the earmarks in. I think this year, what is it, around
3 million.
3 million or so we have in there, which can help offset a lot of the 2 million that we talked about. But if that goes away, then that's a problem as well.
Right.
So then we're looking at next year where we're in for 2-point-something million, I think.
I'm also, but we have to make a decision on the solar by December.
We will, so in
Potentially.
December, we'll potentially know if there's additional sources, so if we don't have the ability to pay for cash. The thing that we look at, I would look at the finance committee to look at is loans and leveraging loans. At the clean water side of SAFE with DWR, anything we can get a state revolving loan for, those loans tend to range at 1.2%, so they stay very low. And if we can't use that for solar, then we have up to 18 months to decide, so yeah, we may.
Well, we have more than that.
Oh, we have 3.
If we decide to sign on with the solar company, we land the materials, and then we have 4 years. That's actually at 2028 to finish the project. So we have some time. It wouldn't be like right away. We'd have to come out with the rest of
Thank
the
you for
month.
clarifying that.
Yeah,
I wasn't,
yeah, and
did not
I meant to
understand.
have them say that earlier. So
okay,
so you land the material for half a million, 526,000, and then to pay the balance, you have basically 3 years.
okay.
So those would be the things to look at, that if we don't have the cash, then you guys may have to look at what projects do we have to prioritize or change the priority if we're gonna pay for solar. Those things would be helpful to give to the board as here's where we should probably move the priorities. Also based on the priorities for the district too. Those would be helpful.
Okay,
One of the, and this is just kind of food for thought, one of the reasons why the solar project is advantageous is it pays for itself.
Yes.
There is some offset, so unlike other projects, like we can fix all the pipelines we want,
Right.
and that is a sunk cost.
Yeah.
This one has a return where we can actually get some money back, and it does take money out of the expenses side if we do this project. So now if we can get it funded with an outside revenue source, grant, loan, there's lots of options. We have other kind of knobs we can turn to pay for that cash. We can then pull that out of the rate portion. So and you're talking about $250,000 a year in just the first year. Obviously, my rates went up 19% in my house.
In
And-
savings of, I see what.
And they go up 19% here as well. So we would be saving additional revenue sources by doing that project. And so that's why they're kind of apples and oranges types of discussions on the projects.
Theoretically, you got to pay back of 10 years, theoretically.
I think when we actually calculate it out based on real numbers of PG&E,
Yeah.
it's closer to 15 years than it is
Yeah,
I think it's 25 in that calculation. It's closer to 15.
Well, the calculation they gave, yeah, but in reality, it's probably going to be less
I would imagine.
based on the inflationary cycle of what PG&E is charging.
It's a lot to digest.
Well,
Like,
you're asking why, I wanted more brains to be looking at this, because I know you guys do your homework very well. And it's a big question, and I think by, having the consultant here, we can look at things and be subjective. Right? We're looking at objective reasons, and that's what we as a board need to look at is have a foundation of reason, and that's why I wanted the presentation here at this time, just to have more minds looking at it, because it's a critical question. One of the questions I have for the rate study is, can you give us an idea of how much the revenue has gone up in the past year or two, and what the revenue increase is you expect in the future? I looked at the revenue from fiscal year 23-24 to 24-25, and the revenue went up about 6.1%. That includes taxes and rates and hydro and all kinds of different things. So when we look at that increase in rate of, say, 10%, how much are we looking at projected increase in revenue?
So it's right here. We actually went down by about 100K, and that was because we didn't do the full 15% from the last time. We did 10%.
Okay.
And so we came in a little bit underneath where we originally, the original study, kind of the original graphs were a little bit higher than they are today. So a little bit less revenue. We're still actually calculating where we are with revenue because it hasn't been a whole year yet. This analysis, and Nancy, I'm not trying to steal your thunder on answering this question.
No,
If I'm
please
doing
go
a
ahead.
I'm doing a bad job, you just jump in. We won't know a really good answer to those questions until next year. And I hate to say
Yeah,
it that way.
I agree.
It's just because we won't have a full year of
Yeah.
here's what the actual increases were, and we won't have a consolidated expenses and consolidated revenues. We won't have all the actual answers to that question. We've only been collecting new rates for 10 months.
Yeah.
So we don't know yet.
I think there's a couple other things that are in there that they're hard for us to take out is the obvious cost of health insurance is going up. And we don't know what that's gonna be. On the other side of that, our wages costs have gone down some because we've lost some higher end employees that have moved on to other places or moved out of town. So we're taking some step 4 people and replacing them with step 1 people.
Correct.
2 people.
Correct.
But I don't know. I think the percentage difference is not much, but I believe in this rate.
Health insurance is guaranteed at least for next year.
Is it?
And yeah,
Okay.
JPIA guarantees it. And when you go to the summit at December, they will
Yeah.
give us the updates for the next upcoming year and the potentials they'll see. So you can dive deep into that extent with the risk. So we'll get exact numbers.
But that along with supplies and materials are definitely gonna go up. I assume that is all built into the
it is,
cost of service study.
and I would say that we're actually coming in less on salaries because we've had some open positions. And
Yeah,
like you're saying, we are shuffling some things around.
Salaries are lower, benefits are higher. General, which includes materials and supplies,
yeah.
is based on the current budget compared to past projections.
Just one thing I wanted to clarify personally, when I'm looking at revenue, there is interest income. And as I understand it, the interest income is coming from a whole variety of funds, like the Stewart Mine Fund.
Mhm.
So any interest that comes from an investment is tied to that particular fund. It's really not available.
So yes and no. There is some, some is not. Yeah, we're working on closing out some of those. We actually have one that we're closing out, and we have one that has some money in it that we're gonna. If there's money in a fund, it has to be restricted to that location. So there are some funds that we have where we can do some projects or allocate some as we do projects in those areas. We can allocate different and then clear those restricted funds out. So we can do maintenance on those sections, or we can take those restricted funds and just leave them in the investment account, but allocate the dollars to that fund. Kind of a take some money from this basket and put it in this basket, and then clear it out of the restricted fund basket. Once you clear the restricted fund basket, you're done. Does that make sense?
Yes.
You have different pots and different buckets.
Pots of money, but some are restricted.
Correct. Right. So we're reallocating some of those funds based on certain projects that we've done in those areas. So we are working on clearing some of that up.
And there's no change anticipated in hydro in the next calendar year. That lease is up in 2027, is that correct?
That's the first one.
I'm sorry, what was it?
The first lease is up in 2027, right?
Right.
The hydro lease?
27 and 8.
28? Yeah.
27, we have one in 27, one in 28.
Yes, Michael.
So, I mean, agree with you guys. I mean, it's the same thing. This is why we want to make sure that we don't hamstring the district in terms of rates, but we also don't want to we always see there's the operation creep where that capital improvement gets tied into it and it goes up, and that's why we put that cap. So next year we'll be able to, that's the one plus thing of this study as opposed to the last one, is each year we get to dial in, and next year we'll have more data, so it'll help us to dial in a lot more. We'll know exactly where the revenue is. So we just want to find out what the right dial is, that we're not putting too much on our customers, but at the same time not dooming the district and having not enough to meet operations at the end of this.
So if we have 3 years, we technically can punt this decision of partial funding, no funding, pay cash,
All we need to
We-
allocate
we
is the
can get
500. Yeah.
Yes, we can allocate the 500, we can kind of get a feel for revenue. At that point, we'll know a little more. So that's good. There's some flexibility there. I wouldn't
Yeah.
want to put out a huge outlay of cash and then find that we don't have enough to cover expenses and we have to raise rates.
Yeah.
So that's good. That makes me a lot more comfortable. I see the value in the solar because we're going to spend that money anyway. I would rather spend less of it, and we know the trajectory. We can look back and we can see that it's going to be, I mean, the escalations in rates are just for sure going to happen.
Yeah, every year we've put off that decision.
Yes.
It's gotten worse and worse. So if we did it years ago, we would have been able to put our excess into the grid and get that money back. Then it was 70% offset. Now there is none.
Right.
So each time every time we delay, we lose something. And if we don't do it this time, we'll lose the IRA. So that
Yes,
percentage
so-
coming back.
Yeah, so there's a huge value in making that decision by December. And I would, anyway. I think what the chair said about escalation of rates, yes, I don't think we should. I would rather see small escalations over time than wave escalations and then hit ratepayers up with a big cost. And it looks like we will have to do that. Have to.
You don't necessarily have to recommend a percentage. I think you could recommend that we need to do something. And then we can continue to work the numbers so you can have the answer to the question that Michael has.
The 800.
Yes.
Yes, I would like to.
Do you want do you have any more comments, Steve? Any comments on this?
Well, I guess, you know, particularly looking at what I'm seeing up there in terms of, you know, cost and offset of the cost. I mean, people go to solar because they get tired of paying PG&E monthly. So it's not like we're just spending the money and there's not anything breaking it down to something less, which it does. I mean, you know, I've got solar on my house and my PG&E bill is zero. And what I was paying before was $100 and some odd. Well, I paid the money, now the solar's there, and I'm making it all back with what I'm not paying anymore. And, you know, solar is, I mean, at some point in our lives, well, probably not mine, I'll be dead by then, but somebody will come in and say, if you don't have solar, you don't get power. I mean, you know, I mean, that's just looking 100 years down the road, it's going to be something to that nature. So, I mean, you look at it, you say it's expensive and, you know, okay, yeah, it's expensive, but you're making money back by doing it because you're not paying PG&E. It's not like it's just everything's the same and then we're sending out another $100,000. What we're saying is, you know, we're doing this and right now we may be sending out another $15,000 based on what you saved because you're not sending the check to PG&E.
Yeah.
I mean, you know, there's the ecological issues of solar, but there's also the financial issues of solar. And when you're looking down the road and you know that, you know, the government is eventually going to start telling everybody that they better have solar on their roof and they better do this and they better do that. But they're not paying PG&E, all those people that they were paying before because they're not there. So, you know, that's the way I look at it. I try and look at particularly those lines and I say, okay, here's what I'm going to do this year. And next year it looks like, you know, my revenues aren't going down. My costs are still there. But when you get out 4 years, it looks like, okay, the system's in. And how much are we saving in terms of what we aren't paying PG&E on a monthly basis? It's you know, the only concern I have is all the panels are being made in Taiwan, and what happens if China takes over Taiwan?
Buy now versus later.
Well, but you may have to replace, and then what?
And counter to that, one of the comments that was made is that there's a 300% difference in production of the panels versus 20 years ago. I know that every year the output of the panel increases. So in 10 years,
better, right?
we may look at the panels and say, let's upgrade the panels, but as they mentioned, the infrastructure's there.
That's right.
And so it's easy.
Right. It costs a lot of money to put those footings in and all the wiring and everything else.
But that's a future decision.
And I'm gonna say this, and maybe I shouldn't in an open session, but I'll do it anyway because, you know, I want to make sure that I'm being transparent. In talking with Jessica and her team, they are very conservative with their 80% as well. So they're assuring that it's gonna probably produce more like 95% of the usage. We just don't get any of the extra, you know, credit.
Right.
So
PG&E doesn't buy it.
If we go over 100% or we go over, you know, the extra, then PG just takes it from us and they're like, well, thank you for the free power.
Yeah.
But they're basically building the system to be really close to offset.
Right. All right, so it seems to me you're asking for two things here. The first thing is, what's our recommendation with regard to the solar?
Yes.
Do you want a formal motion on this or?
Please.
Okay. Let's make a motion to, I'm gonna say recommend the solar project to the board. Anybody want to second that?
I second it.
Okay.
With funding option? No.
I think with regard to the funding option, paying cash makes sense to me. It gives you the highest return, the quickest return. But there was also some discussion of maybe something that's a little bit more of a hybrid. Perhaps a quicker pay down if you have the cash. It seems to me that the two things may be potentially linked because the second thing we're looking at, the second thing we're going to discuss is going to be the cost of service rate increase. Okay, I am concerned at this point of taking on what appears to be a very large project. At the same time, you're going to tell your ratepayers, by the way, we're going to increase your rates. Okay, because the response is going to be, well, why did you commit all this money to solar? Which may or may not be popular in the community. That I don't know. Those of us sitting here thinks, yes, it makes a lot of sense because we see the numbers. All right, but there's a lot of resistance to EVs. EV cars are not selling right now. All right, that's the community telling people like Ford and so forth that, you know what, we don't really want this. Now we can project down the road that maybe this is the case. I think you may get some of that hesitancy within the community. And coupling the two things together by saying, oh, by the way, we're going to increase rates, but at the same time do this. Okay. I guess what I'm trying to say is you've got the money set aside there that you may need for something else. That's why I don't necessarily know that I want to say, let's make a cash commitment at this point. I think a cash commitment is the smart way to go. I really do. If I had my druthers and I were sitting on the board, I'd probably say, you know what, let's bite the bullet and do that. However, I think the other piece requires the board and maybe us to look at other options. Okay, so at this point, I don't know that I want to make a recommendation that you pay cash.
Well,
Again,
we don't have to make that decision today.
right,
The
I
only
know,
decision we need
decision
is do yes, go yes or go no.
correct.
And the 500 is going to be a cash payment. We can then come back and say, hey, we're really seeing financing rates go really in the right direction. We want to go financing, or hey, this extra funding source came in. Let's go. Let's work on this.
Correct.
That comment was very good, and if someone's able to come to the board to provide that comment,
I-
at least
I-
have it written down for
I'll-
us.
Okay,
I think the concept of the hybrid is very important. We don't know what's gonna happen with the cost or the value of the water transfer in
Right.
2 or 3 years. So if we do have a water transfer, we can take the water transfer and just buy down that loan.
correct.
And then we're gonna, like the GM said earlier, is that this is not a sunk cost. We put a cost in there, we get a return. So we'll get a return on that water transfer every year in the future because we're not paying interest on that loan and not paying the cost of electricity. So it's a great investment. And I think, like Nick said, we don't need to come up with a recommendation for funding, but I like your idea of let's have a hybrid where we can make that choice over time as revenue comes in.
At least think about it. Okay, so to summarize, back to the original motion. I think the motion is, do we recommend to the board that they should pursue the solar project?
Yeah, and I have a first from a chairman and a second from Mr. Miller.
Right. I just want to make sure that doesn't include the funding piece. Okay, yes. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay. The second piece is the cost of service rate increase. I think it is, in my opinion, imperative that rates be increased sooner rather than later. As far as what the amount is, I'm unclear as what that should be. I think wasn't it 10%? Go ahead.
I think that's Steve Dowd's phone. It's somebody in the background of his thing.
Oh,
Okay. I think if I remember, and correct me, the original recommendation was 10%. And we did something a little bit less
The
than.
original was 15%.
We have 15, and then it was 15 and then 10, 10, 10 for 4 years. So 15 for the first year and then 10 for the next 4 years. The board decided to go 10 for the first year and left the other 4 years open.
So budget doesn't include grants and stuff, and we did have grants in the pipeline. And we have gotten some grants, so.
So when would we be able to get a calculation of what the anticipated percentage would be when adjusted for grants
Well,
that will come through and
we
adjusted
can't-
for the
we can't-
800?
Can't do for possible grants, and that's why the board put a cap at 800,
Okay,
which made
So-
the onus on us as the board and the staff to make sure we get grants to cover the gap.
so if we were to account for the 800 into
That's
Yeah.
what I would like to do.
what percentage would that reflect out in a rate increase? I would like to know.
Nancy, can you show me, do you have the capital improvement plan number for this year? What it's gonna be for 26?
Yeah, let's see. I'm gonna share my screen. So 26 we have at almost 1.4, 1.38.
Now, some of those projects aren't gonna go, so do you have the actual budget sheet or no?
Mm-hmm.
You have to pull it up. Okay.
Yeah, right
Oh, there
here.
it is. There it is. Okay, so yeah, the tank coating, yes. We're not dredging Walton, so that one is, there's 2/6, it's not gonna happen.
Okay,
Paving.
let me make these changes real time. So I'm zeroing Walton out.
Tank coating, put that at 550, because we're,
Okay.
paving, no.
Paving, so that's zeroed out.
Yep.
Okay.
Tunnel inspection, no.
Tunnel inspection.
Yep, vehicles was 150.
50.
Tax.
It's bigger, sorry.
We actually got it below the tax, so we're good. Those are all gonna be yes. PRVs is gonna be no.
PRV is no.
Canal
Okay.
lining, no, not for this year. We did it grant funded already.
Okay.
AMI skated, no, we did that grant funded.
Nick, does the retrofit look right? 10,000?
I'm so sorry.
The pump station retrofit, is that correct?
We,
The 10?
yeah, we usually leave that in there just in case we need to do something.
Okay.
So that's more realistic to what we're actually gonna spend. So 930, it looked like it said.
Mhm.
What about the tank?
We have it on there. I don't know what the tank is
Yeah.
gonna cost. The tank could cost anywhere between $500 and $1 million to have the tank coated, so we are, that is the one.
That's not a concrete number.
It's an outlier.
Okay.
You'll find out at the next board meeting. We have projects costs that range between 500 and 930, 500,000 and 930,000.
So that's 967 after those changes.
So,
And then
Okay.
the rest, rate paying can pay into it.
Leaves you 167 shortfall.
is it 800 on the dot or is it 860 something? I thought.
I don't remember exactly what.
I have to go back and look at the notes.
I think it was close to 800.
And some of these may be up, maybe down. So let's say 200 grand shortfall.
Can you, will that change the graphs on the presentation or do you have to, can you just show the graph?
That will change the graphs.
So
So
it's
in
still-
those latter years, we only changed the first year. So we're looking better for sure. But these years are still higher than what we previously had in the rate study for capital funding.
Yeah, but when we look at capital funding, a lot of them are over that 800,000 part, so that's
Right.
going for the rate, so
Right.
that's the one thing if we could adjust.
Let me, the best I can say is I can work with Nancy to try to fix some of those numbers. I can't do everything because those were approved at the budget, at the board, and we have a reasoning to buy. some of them are to offset future costs and
Well, yeah.
the dredging is a huge thing, yeah,
Right.
so we're trying to schedule things so that it doesn't impact down the line, because, just like everything else, if I defer something today, it's gonna cost more tomorrow.
That's right.
Yes.
And it's one of the things that I looked at when I was comparing the actuals where we're at on our current costs, which we'll get to in financials. Got a lot of vehicle costs, a lot of vehicle maintenance costs.
Well, yeah, but one of the reasons why we purchased a new vehicle that I
Exactly.
told you was because we had one that was costing like $30,000, major repairs.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So.
Okay.
So I guess,
Do you want to get back to us with a number, or do you want us to recommend a number? Or do
I
you want?
probably will not be able to have you give any kind of recommendation before the board meeting is the
Okay.
problem.
Well, my recommendation is that if rate increases are necessary, and I think they probably are, do it now. I don't know if you need something formal on that or not, but I would say that there's been a lot of work gone into this. There's been a lot of good thought going into this. And it seems to me that, I understood if it was a 15%, we wanted to do something a little bit less to make it easier. I understand that, but now comes the time where we made a decision, and now comes the time where we're gonna have to live with that decision.
I would recommend you guys vote on that so we have a formal recommendation.
Okay.
We can bring
All
forward.
right, so,
So, and some context to that is, we know the inflation rate is currently around 4%.
Yeah.
I know that my social security is going up 3.8% next year, so as a ratepayer, I cannot complain about
that's right.
costs going up.
No,
Now,
that's right.
I can, and also I can see as a ratepayer, the cost of materials and supplies are going way up more than my social security.
That's right.
So 4% is where we work from.
Right.
To say, and the last time the board looked at taking 2/3 of the recommended rate.
Right.
And so I don't know if you guys can give a number, but I just wanted more brains at the table to look at it for transparency to our customers.
Well, let me see if I can articulate a motion that we can be happy with. I think motion should be that we are in support of the board reviewing a rate increase based on the updated cost of service, with the understanding that we've got a cap on capital expenditures of $800,000 and that we have a shortfall. Top of my mind, number might be an additional 4%. Cover inflation. Does that make sense to everyone?
So are you saying a 4% increase?
No, that's.
I misunderstood what the part.
On top of,
On top.
On top of, okay.
So you're looking
additional,
at 8% increase is what the finance committee is discussing.
yes,
And for that, half of that is just for cost of living adjustment for living expenses, not counting supplies and materials and so on,
yes.
and increases in PG&E costs.
Well, hopefully that's what I'm saying. There's been a lot of movement, very diligent movement with the grants. I mean, from when I started 2 years ago,
Oh,
the
absolutely.
grants that are brought in, the improvements in what we're getting from interest income and the investments. We have looked very, very hard at costs. We really have. And I think those have been based on the fact that we almost hit the budget right on last year,
Exactly. I mean, yeah, I agree.
right on.
Yeah.
And I think there's been a lot of work, there are a lot of diligent work to try and, make sure that the ratepayers are getting, best bang for their buck, and we continue to supply what we're supposed to supply, the product, good clean water and irrigation water, so.
Just to comment on grants, I have actual revenue going back to 2017. And in fiscal year 23-24, we got $1,000 in grants. In 24-25, what I was able to pull out of the financials is we got 9,909% increase in that, went up to over $100,000. I think we're on a similar track now to let's use other people's monies to line the ditch and doing things that need to be done.
I agree.
So I see that something that we could talk more about next year.
We're making continuous improvement, which is what we're supposed to do.
So I have a first at 8%.
I want to ask my colleagues if they understood what I had and do they have any input on what I had? Because I just kind of threw it out there.
I'm with you on it.
Does that make sense to you?
Yes, your 4% makes sense to me. I'm just wondering about the additional 4. Like was that a back of the envelope calculation or just, okay. So are you saying, I just want to clarify before we vote, are you saying you don't want to see anything above 8%?
Yeah.
And 8% or less?
Increase. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yes.
That's my
That's what I
that's my recommendation. And yeah, it's back of the envelope. It's
Okay.
looking at what you have
Okay,
there. It's
so we don't know
200,000.
yet, okay,
Cause I don't,
okay,
literally, it's best guess looking at the numbers we
Understood.
had in front of us.
yeah,
And when
because
we
I
get-
know 4% is just a given. I like the way you phrase all of that.
Did you
So,
get that down? Do you understand what I was
I'm
trying?
gonna go back and listen to the tape.
Okay, all right. Do we have a second?
Yes, you do.
All in favor?
I,
Aye. Good luck with that, folks.
Thank you
Thank you.
for the discussion. This is hard work and it's very.
Thank you, Nancy.
It's
Thank
hard
you,
work.
everyone.
thank you.
It's hard work because we see it, we feel it. That's why it's hard work.
I feel it for the ratepayers. I mean, I'm a ratepayer. I feel it for them.
So,
Okay,
moving on to the next item.
back to
I am-
financials.
Well, hold on, let's do the next,
Yes.
there's been some talk of updating the
Okay,
committee stuff, and I wanna go in, you have one in your packet.
Yep.
But I've been working on this all day on some, I've literally been going and like mirroring the 2 committee packets on my computer. So I'm gonna pull the one up that I have that's the most current. It's
Okay.
not much change from what you have in your packet,
Okay.
but I will go over
This
the
one here?
changes. That is what I put in front of you, correct?
got it.
Okay.
Okay.
So I did give you the printed copies, and for those of you online, you will receive the updated copies. But I'm gonna share them here so you can see them now. But there's not a great deal of change to this one, more irrigation stuff got changed.
Okay.
So, and this is obviously, I am proposing this for the December board meeting, so. I did this, and what I did was remove a lot of the stuff that was not consistent with the other policies, so the other 2 policies. Basically read side by side, except in a couple of key areas, and I'll go over where those, I'll even discuss why some of them are different.
Okay.
So, I removed the background section because we don't need that. We have that. That's a part of the public record. We have when it was adopted and when it's going to be amended. Those are the most important pieces to that puzzle. Previously, there was no section for the Brown Act under this. So number 2, we added that section as to reference the Brown Act.
You have one typo. It says the irrigation committee under Brown Act. You see, first line, Brown Act, the irrigation committee is fine.
Oh, I probably
I just pulled it over. You did the same mistake.
did.
the other one.
I did that. Yeah. So I'll actually change it right here.
That's okay.
I did. I copy and pasted a few different times.
That's
so
okay.
Thank you for the catch. Okay. So membership quorum, I actually took the language from this policy and put it into the irrigation policy because this one was more succinct. The irrigation policy said you needed to have 4 members, and that's not truly how it should work. It is a majority of the board, a majority of the committee. Now, we do have just so you all know, because you're on this committee and we only have 3 members, we can't go less than 3 members for not having a quorum. So if
Yeah.
only 2 of you can show up, we are not allowed to have a meeting, because that is just good practice, I think.
Yep.
Okay, so for board liaisons, we did remove the letter E. We changed a few things in here about how they they're not a typical member of the committee. They serve here in a capacity of observing only. Trust would verify, stuff like that. They're gonna be reporting back to their board colleagues, but they're not technically voting members, and so there was some ambiguity about whether or not they were voting members and whether or not they could attend online and not have to post their teleconference location. So we cleaned up those pieces of the puzzle. We also removed now this is a request of board members to remove the portion of the board president can appoint a different liaison at a specific meeting. I think you guys all remember maybe 6 months ago, we had a potential serial meeting issue. And I just want to avoid that. So no board president coming in to appoint other members. Let's just keep the liaisons that are on staff.
Okay.
If one of them can't show up, then the other one can take his place and can do the reporting.
Do you understand
Yes,
where we're coming from?
yes.
Yeah,
Because what happened there is that I couldn't discuss with the other liaison anything that happened in that meeting.
Yeah, the audit, it was a big issue with the audit. And now it wasn't
Why?
Because it's a
Violation
violation
of Brown Act.
Yeah, violation of the Brown.
post serial
Last
meeting.
meeting,
Board members can discuss the new
They had a report. and
Yeah.
stuff.
So
I couldn't share any of my personal thoughts of what went on in the meeting with the liaison, because then it would have been what we call a serial meeting. We talked to Donna and I talked about it. We can't talk to any other board member about it. And that's the Brown Act. That's the reality of
I'll give you an example.
umbrella regulations.
Forgive me, I've only been in California for a shorter period of time.
But to me, it really put the pedal to the metal on that issue.
I can't technically take the cost of service analysis that you just made a recommendation on to the irrigation committee. Because that would be considered a serial meeting as well. Because it involves 3 or more board members at that point.
Yeah.
So that's why there's only 2 members here. If a board member walked in here and sat in the back, I have to kick him out. I literally have to physically kick him out.
understood.
Or even if they attend on Zoom, I have to remove them. They can't be anywhere. They can watch it on like the YouTube, they can watch the recording. They cannot have any ability to influence the vote of any way. And so there's a whole bunch of things. So it's just better.
I'm gonna have to read up on.
Oh,
this.
good luck. Good luck.
Okay, all right, go ahead. Sorry.
That's even
We
more,
we digress.
that's even more boring than the financial numbers. I changed the password or the email for submitting applicants from the GM or the EA email book. They each had different ones. I put info. That's more readily looked at by more eyes here. And the GM at GDPUD email doesn't get used anymore. I changed that. And then if we go to section 8. So this is kind of the most important part. I added some language in here. This is one of the changes I made today.
Can you, we don't have other page, so could you flip up to
the back?
Yeah, it's.
It only printed out
We only
1,
got
3,
every
and 5.
It's probably two-sided.
I'll put it up on the.
Put it on the board
TV.
here, it's fine, yeah.
On the TV right there. So. It was a last minute to here. So this and this page. It's probably the page that we're on here now. Yes, here. Up on the screen. It's 8 and 9 is the next big one. So terms, the original change that was made by legal was the term of the office shall be 2 years. It shall begin January 1st of the even year and terminate December 31st of the odd year. I added in, it had to be sending in your resume to re-up to become, to continue, and we've never really done that practice, so I changed the language to providing interest via verbal commitment at the December committee meeting or in writing to include email. To the board and the general manager, and the board voting on the committee members reappointed during the board meeting. So, I mean, it's still pretty formal, but I think it's a lot easier because you can tell us, I think we did it last year by consensus if you'd like to stay on. And I would like to keep it that way.
Right, okay,
Wherever the last meeting of the year will be.
okay.
And then removal, this is the other one, and I would say is not really for this committee as much, but all committee members serve at the will of the board. If any fails to attend any 3 meetings within a rolling span of 12 months, they may be removed by an affirmative vote of 3 members of the board. Now, I want to preface this, it's May. We're not forcing them to do it. So if you have an excuse or you want to come in and say, hey, like I had a family emergency and I had another family emergency and there's a reasonable explanation as to why you're missing committee meetings. Obviously, you're not getting paid to be here, so we appreciate your service. But if there's we want to be able to remove the bad actors. So somebody who's consistently not here or consistently causing problems at the meetings.
That's fine. Makes sense.
Works.
And then it says, however, the board reserves the right and ultimate discretion to remove any member for any cause or no cause without, with or without notice. Now that comes with, there was a provision in this before that the committee members could vote each other out. And that's unfortunately not your purview. So even if Martha and William don't get along, you guys have fisticuffs, it's up to the board whether or not they get removed. So it's not up to Steve to say, I don't like one of the other, and
Okay.
it has to be up to the board.
Sounds good.
And then, I removed this change today. We don't really have a secretary position. I mean, I know Martha, you do some stuff, some help with the minutes, but it's really fell to the EA position more than anything. So I don't think we need to hold that
Okay.
position anymore, unless you want to continue to do it.
I'm good.
So I made that change for both of them. Now, I will note, there is one change that I made to the irrigation committee that is not on here. Due to the kind of unique nature of that committee, membership in there, and it's, I believe, number 5. Oh, where is it here? Sorry, I would find it. It's sorry, membership. I don't know where it is. Oh, selection of sorry, number 5. That's why I picked it. The selection of committee members. The issue that we have on that is we have some people who do not live in the district who are also customers. And we want to make sure that they have the opportunity to be on the irrigation committee. So it doesn't have anything to do with finance. Finance, you have to live in the district, you have to be a customer, you have to be like, here. But we do have some folks that live outside that have the opportunity. So we wanted to make sure that we clean up the language so that any irrigation customer could be on. So that's the way it says it now.
Okay.
And then this one has, for the board liaisons, I will add that it is recommended to appoint the board treasurer and one other director up to a maximum of 2. So it's not a requirement, but it's recommended. That was one of the things that we changed. So if you are okay with these changes, I would appreciate a motion to push this onto the board at the next board meeting.
I just have one typo thing.
Did you catch more?
Yeah, and one suggestion on the wording. Because the meaning doesn't come out exactly as you intend, but I'll just hand that over.
Oh,
to
for
you.
sure.
They're just minor editorial.
Yeah, I got that one.
I'll make a motion to adopt the modified roles and responsibilities finance
that
committee
make sense?
policy.
Yeah.
Second.
Okay.
All in favor?
All
Aye.
right.
Aye.
Who was first?
I made the motion.
He said,
Steve seconded.
Was there any questions online before we move on? I just want to make sure.
I did not see any up there, but you got a different thingy up there, so.
I don't see
To the
him.
I don't
right.
see anything.
No hands up.
No, we're good. All right. Okay, so we are now moving on to
5 informational items,
Yep.
financials. I did not,
I'm gonna do my best. Jessica is not here. She's at the CalPERLA conference, so I'll do my best to be a Jessica, but.
nothing really jumped out on me on financials.
Right.
Just a comment on the financials, there's a formula issue with the interest. In the summary, I was able to identify the interest earned in all of the categories.
In this or in this?
And I don't have it it's behind what's on your left hand. If you go to the second page and it talks about revenues. There's a negative number for interest.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
And I was able to go through all the pages after that and get interest income from all the other pages.
They haven't been inputted into that column yet. It's a like a rolling up process.
Yeah, so that's my only comment there.
Thank you. I did not catch that.
Well, I was working on revenue and there was something wrong with that.
I tend to skip the revenue piece and look at the costs. Can't do much about revenue.
Okay, then we want to do the budget,
Yeah, I had a. Sure.
you want me to pull this up on the screen so we can look at it
Yeah.
together? Okay.
That'd be awesome.
I'll let you guys drive the meeting, and I'll answer whatever questions. I wasn't here at the last meeting, so I know there was some questions, and I wasn't here, so I'll try to do my best.
What I typically look at, all right, I look at my last column over there, I see where you're close to budget, where you're not. Okay, so on source of supply, you got 66% left, you're at 70, so you're fine on that.
Mhm.
You're not over. All right,
Okay.
we're in budget. All right, so the next slide. 5,200. And 5,200, we're off just a little bit, but the drivers there. And this,
So 5,200 is, we do receive kind of a glut of stuff in the beginning.
Right.
It has to do with irrigation water. This is basically getting irrigation water to folks. So we do see kind of this will ramp down and then ramps back up.
well, the two drivers, well, you got, well, I look at three drivers. The first one, you got some OT, you're over on OT, a little bit, not a lot, but you're over on OT, seeing a little bit higher. But the killer, and this all the way along, is your unfunded liabilities. And the question was timing. Do you take that now?
We pay we pay unfunded liability in July, so you'll always see it as there's zero budget left because it's
It's
one.
always gonna be huge.
Oh, every department
Okay.
has that paid at the beginning of the
So
year.
my guess is because of that big driver right there and the amount that's involved. You know, that's gonna throw your numbers down at the bottom off.
I would agree with you.
So I think we're pretty good then. Well, I would guess, because this is driving all the way through these things. The unfunded pension liabilities, and the pension costs.
I mean, you can look at most of the categories are in the 50s or
Right.
higher, or like I would
Right.
say 60s or higher, except
Right.
for that one.
Right.
And that is the biggest expense on this account.
And the other one was vehicle maintenance, and this is one that I raised. See where you got vehicle maintenance?
Yes.
We got 17 over, we're over budget on that.
Yes.
And, you know, back to the issue of a newer vehicle versus trying to fix.
And I will say that some of the maintenance, some of the cost of fixing the dump truck did go into the different categories. So you did maybe hear, we had an issue with the engine of the dump truck, it blew up.
The new one?
Well, the used.
used
The new to us one. Yeah, so unfortunately, the previous owner didn't do correct valve gapping maintenance, and so we had basically it imploded on itself. So we had a new engine put in, 2-year warranty, the whole nine. Cost about $60,000. So we allocated that through some of the vehicle maintenance portions.
Okay.
So that, and you know, unfortunately that was a big hit, but you know, we have a nice dump truck for 2 years at least. Under warranty.
Good. Okay, I don't have anything on 5,300.
You don't want to talk about PG&E? We just had a whole conversation about PG&E. Man.
PG&E is what it's gonna be. Yeah, well, you know, I mean, that's perfect example here. I mean,
It is.
$226,000. You know, I mean, you know, the budget, 356,000, we've already spent 110.
Yep.
And I signed the checks, I wanna look at what percentage of that is energy usage, cause that's gonna give us the hard number
Yes.
for the cost benefit of solar.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you'll notice that just to kind of reference the UAL, you're at
Right.
3% again.
Okay, yeah, that's right.
And I want to make a note for the board and for the record. CalPERS does a 2-year cycle, so we won't see any references for 2 years, but they did really well on this year's investments.
I
So
gave that an answer.
No, I'm not saying you didn't do anything. I want the board, the finance committee here. So the reason I bring that up is because in 2027, the UAL will go down.
Okay,
So it doesn't follow year over year because it has to, they go on the 2-year cycle. So in 2027, we will have less UAL unfunded liabilities.
okay,
And hopefully that'll go for a couple years where it's not, it'll taper down and then it kind of ramps back up.
okay. Good. Down is always good.
And we can actually use the down to build what we call a Cal Trust or a 115, it's a 115 something.
115T, but
Yeah.
yeah, I'm gonna talk about that and.
We will bring that back at the next meeting.
Number 8.
But, oh,
Good, I wanna hear about this.
are we talking about, oh,
No, we'll keep, we can do this. Number 8 is additional comment.
Later.
But you can talk, he's.
Okay,
my thunder, but it's good topic.
with regard to 5,400, we've got an increased cost on rentals.
yes, we had to rent a dump truck while we didn't have the big dump truck.
Makes sense, okay. And then again, vehicle maintenance, which we've talked about.
Yeah.
5,600,
Yes.
we've got some increases in legal and audit. Well, by the way, where are we at on audit?
Audit
Started.
no, it's done.
I was,
to do it.
yeah, that's,
It's done. The audit's done. We're just waiting. We've gotten all the stuff internal audit. They're just doing their,
got it.
so it'll be probably February we'll have
Okay.
the final report.
Okay.
Legal costs, we did have some, extra legal expenses over the year. Some of that's been cleared up, so, hopefully we don't see that moving forward.
Okay, good. And then, memberships, and I suspect that's a timing issue again. Probably have
Yes,
to pay those
we pay all those in July.
Yeah.
One note, one of the few things, the Aqua board last meeting, we voted to decrease the membership dues, so that.
Well, that's good.
So that will go down because we've done so well with our investments, so
Good.
the dues are actually gonna go down for Aqua, so at least one is going down.
You know, I think it's kind of like training. It's kind of like, PPE. These things, memberships tend to pay for themselves. Usually, we all, when I used to have to do continuing education, used to complain about the time it took and what it would cost and all that stuff. But I frequently found after I got back, I actually learned something and it actually made my job easier. So I'm kind of an advocate of that kind of stuff. And
The last official event I went to was the agency that handles all of the insurance, and they were talking about loss control. And so they talked about one agency in the valley that had their generator stolen twice. And the second time, they put all these tracking devices on the generators, and they were able to recover it within 48 hours. A different color going down Highway 5 south. And they mentioned another thing is putting gates around your equipment. And so they mentioned, well, you can get a grant to put in a gate. Well, it's in the budget to replace the gate. And so my knowledge of going there just qualified us through our insurance to help pay for the gate.
Right.
So that's exactly what you're talking about.
And I'll give, Director Stovall in the district a plug. We actually applied for that today. So, or it was yesterday. I signed the paperwork yesterday. So they're competitive to a point, but they're not as competitive. So we should get $10,000 back.
good.
Nice.
Yeah, that's well worth driving to Monterey.
Their DC meeting, but that's gonna be the big fight again next year, but I mean, it's important to go to DC because as you're talking about these grants that pay for a lot of the stuff that will drop our capital expenses down to 3 million, those are the people you gotta talk to directly to get that stuff done, so.
Yeah, that's always helpful, making the connections too.
Absolutely.
And then, lastly, 6,100, I just noticed we're a little bit over on overtime. But it's not significant. I mean.
I would have to look into that.
I just wonder, my thing on overtime is, are we properly staffed? When you start running a lot of overtime, you're properly staffed, and I keep hitting on the same thing because I've had that in the prior employment. we're pretty lean and mean, so I understand that, but if something happens, people breaks.
We don't typically see a lot of overtime in that department except for when we have high rain events. And so my only thing is some of the recent rain events maybe are reflecting, but I'd have to give you, I'd have to get back to you.
It's fine. It's just one of those things that I raise in case somebody.
Do you want to make sure you take any questions from the public?
All right. Do we have any questions from the public? With regard to the financials, budgets? Okay. Let's go to number 7, Finance Committee member comments or reports. Do we have any comments that we haven't already made?
No.
Nope.
I spent a lot of my time absorbing, not projecting.
Hope everybody enjoys their Thanksgiving is my only comment. Okay. Agenda items for the next Finance Committee meeting.
So, one thing that we talked about, you saw that was through all of the, budget departments with the unfunded liability. And it's also part of our audit now, the new GASB thing makes it, negative on our, revenues and expenses as well. So one of the things that I want the finance committee to look at is the ability to do a Cal Trust. So what we can do is start saving up against the unfunded liability. One of the best ways to do it is we know we put, let's say it's 180,000. How much is it per year? It's like what is it? 650?
Our total liability is around 650.
So if we know it's 650 and we budgeted it, we put that in the Cal Trust 650, and then we have parameters. So let's say if 1 year it's 630, then we pay all of that portion in. We're putting in 650, so maybe we'll pay 80% and put the rest in. And then that way we can build up our unfunded liability to the point where it is not unfunded anymore. So that's what we can do every year. We can take the offset from that.
And we can leverage the investments that are out there. I mean, there's still
As opposed
fairly good.
Paying it.
Yeah, there's still fairly good rates. So you don't get out of paying the 650 when they come calling. But what we do is we take an additional 650 and we put that into the fund, and that builds the 3, 4, 5%. And it's only, so the Cal Trust, like he's referring to, the 115T is only eligible to be paid for this. So like, it's kind of like a restricted fund
Yeah,
for,
sinking fund.
huh?
It's like a sinking fund. When you take out a bond, you have to pay it back.
Sort of, yeah, sort of, but it's us putting money in.
Right.
In the beginning.
Interest, and it's interest bearing, and it'll help you rather than just paying it directly to.
Right.
Calvert. I think makes a lot of sense.
So something you could do is when we have the like offset of, like, we had good investments in CalPERS, we can take the 650 and push that forward and budget that every year and take the difference of what the unfunded liability is and put that into the Cal Trust, and that could be your starting point.
That's a good idea. That's great.
That is a good idea.
So I guess we can bring that forward, and I can check with Aqua if we want someone that runs the 115 trust to come in and talk to us.
Yeah, I can reach out.
Is there a cost to have a trust, or is there some kind of?
But we already have a financial investor and stuff, so if we tie it into that, it won't.
Really, no, I mean,
Okay.
there is no cost to have the fund.
Okay,
The cost is to have somebody recommending the fund and stuff, so we pay,
which we already pay.
we pay, basically 1 basis point, which is about $1,000 a month. They have somebody, he's all this stuff, CDs, got class, we're switching over to Leif, we're switching back to Leif because Leif's rates are
Doing well.
we're doing it slow because Leif's rates are 4.1 and we're at 4.03 right now, so we're still close. But we're gonna move some of our money over to Leif. The problem with Leif is it's a little bit less liquid. We use California Class as a savings account, so high yield savings, as opposed to having it sitting at another bank where it only makes 0.08%. We're now making 4%.
I'd be interested in seeing some information on that.
Okay.
Next meeting.
Sounds good.
And then this is just way down the line, not to think of yet, but another thing that also helps ratepayers way down the line, if you want to consider it, is moving the fixed rates and the rates to the fixed rates to property tax where it gets paid on property tax, and then your actual water bill is just your usage rates. So that's something to think of as well. A lot of districts do it, so your bill will go down to maybe $5-10 a month, but the fixed rate's covered because it's covered in your property tax. And it doesn't increase your property tax, so I'll have to have the people that do it show you how that.
Yeah.
Yeah, explain that to me.
It's,
It's
it's really not a hard discussion. It's basically what is there's a word for it.
Yeah, I forgot what it's called.
Magic?
An assessment. Did you just call it?
Called it magic.
No, it's not a lot of people understand it, and we, because we're a PUD, not everybody can do it. So not regular water districts can't do it. You really don't have the opportunity to start pulling property tax revenue kind of just out of whim. But since we're a PUD, we can do it. And basically it's an assessment. It'd be on your
Tax form.
on your property tax, and it would say GDPUD, and it would explain what it is, and we would just calculate what your base rate would be. So I don't know, what size is your meter?
3/4.
So whatever the rate for a 3/4 is, I think it's $70 every 2 months.
Something.
We would calculate that and multiply it and then put it onto your property tax. And
it's tax deductible, I guess.
It would be.
Or it wasn't before.
If you're in a position without, if you're.
plus it also, people who have like mortgage payments it would be come right off their
Come right off their
mortgage.
But you're right, yeah, if it's.
It would
tax, I'm
Not that we're offering tax advice, we are not.
No, but that's.
I honestly didn't even think about that. That's, I think portions of it are, I'm not sure if the whole thing is,
But-
so.
I'm just thinking from I guess you still have to send out the bills.
You still
I'm
send a
just
bill up,
looking at-
but you're only paying 5, 10, 15.
I get that.
$20.
I'm looking at it from an administrative standpoint. Does it make any difference administrative standpoint?
Yes,
And
because
does it,
of collecting, it's easier.
that's what I was thinking. You don't have to worry about us waiting for that big check to come
The
in.
thing you lose is penalties. I mean, there's not as many penalties that come in because
Then the one thing, I mean, it kind of works the same as the lira, so do we add that to just the usage, or does that cover the fix? So that would be the discussion we'd have prior to going in.
we actually we had a small discussion before we did the last cost of service of switching some over to more over to the property tax, because it is an easier revenue source to collect than it is to collect the rates. So you don't even do the whole thing. You can do part of it or some of it, however you want to do that. It is an interesting discussion.
It is. It really is. Okay.
Good point. How did you come across that?
Oh, that's
Opportunity, knowledge.
That's from sitting on the bus, going to the networks with the aqua people. The different districts are there talking about the rate studies that they done, and the one that came up, and this was one where they had trouble every year trying to get, the rates increased, and doing it this way where the property tax kind of fixed a lot of the late penalties and stuff, and it stabilized their rates, so their increases are not felt by the customers as much, and it allowed them to do more of the CIP, so.
And I like that's the value of networking. Absolutely.
And I was like, is that even possible? I was like, that sounds insane, but yeah.
Okay.
All right. Next meeting is scheduled for January 22nd, 2026. See y'all next
See you
year.
next year.
Yep.
Yeah, good.
Mary,
Meeting. I appreciate this.
we just get
we have a motion.
Well,
Let's.
so just remember, if that's January, they're all gonna have to do their re-up, send you a letter prior to.
I was assuming it wouldn't start until after, because that's.
All right, so yeah.
However you want to handle it, we can get the information from the board at the board meeting though.
Yep.
Okay. All right. Do we have a motion to adjourn?
I make a motion to adjourn.
Second. All in favor?
Yep.
Aye.